Soft intro music, slow fade in, vintage guitar strings, crowd cheers in the background. Narrator calm, deep tone. In the world of music, there are stories we've all heard, and stories we were never meant to hear. Tonight, we dive into one of those untold tales. A rivalry, a legacy, and a £2 million guitar once owned by the king of rock himself, Elvis Presley. This is the untold story of the fight between Michael Jackson and Prince. Music fades out, thunder sound effect. Mantelpiece clock Chapter 1, The Legend of the Guitar. It began with a guitar. Not just any guitar, but one that had history in its strings. Elvis Presley's 1969 Gibson Custom. The one he used during his legendary comeback special. It was said that whoever owned this guitar would own a piece of musical immortality. When Elvis passed away in 1977, the guitar disappeared into the hands of private collectors, quietly changing owners through auctions and secret deals. But by the mid-1980s, word spread across Hollywood that the guitar had resurfaced. And that's when two icons heard about it, Michael Jackson and Prince. Both were at the peak of their powers. Both admired Elvis, and both wanted to prove they were the true heir to his throne. High Voltage Chapter 2, The Rivalry That Shook Music. By 1983, the rivalry between Michael Jackson and Prince had already become the stuff of legend. Michael had just released Thriller, the biggest-selling album in history. Prince had answered with Purple Rain, a masterpiece of his own. They were yin and yang, light and shadow, both musical geniuses, yet completely different in their approach. Michael was the perfectionist, quiet, spiritual, meticulous. Prince was the rebel, electric, unpredictable, untamed. And when both learned that Elvis's guitar was being put up for private auction, the stage was set for a confrontation unlike any before. Moneybag Chapter 3, The £2 million Guitar Auction. According to insiders from the Beverly Hills auction house, the bidding began quietly, only a handful of buyers invited. Among them, two anonymous bidders quickly drove the price beyond £1 million. One represented Michael Jackson, through a private agent. The other, Prince himself, sitting silently in a dark corner of the room wearing a purple velvet suit. The auctioneer's voice echoed, £1.5 million, do I hear 1.6? Prince raised his hand. Michael's agent raised his number immediately after. The room's air grew heavy. The tension was unreal. By the time the number hit £2 million, the auctioneer's hammer paused midair. Prince stood up. He stared directly at Michael's agent, and simply said, "Tell him he can have it, but it won't make him the king." The room fell silent. Michael got the guitar, but the story didn't end there. Fire Chapter 4, The Studio Confrontation. A few months later, the two superstars ended up in the same Los Angeles studio complex, Sunset Sound. Michael was recording a charity single. Prince was rehearsing with The Revolution. Their entourages crossed paths. The atmosphere, ice cold. Michael's producer, Quincy Jones, tried to keep things calm. But Prince's swagger was impossible to ignore. He reportedly told Quincy, "Tell your boy that the king's guitar belongs with the prince." When Michael heard that, he just smiled and said softly, "I didn't buy it to play it. I bought it to protect it." That one sentence, simple yet powerful, summed up who they were. Prince saw the guitar as a challenge. Michael saw it as a legacy. Guitar Chapter 5, The Private Performance. Weeks later, Prince invited Michael to one of his private after-parties in Minneapolis. Only a handful of guests were allowed. On stage, under purple lights, Prince walked out with his own replica of Elvis's guitar. He pointed at Michael in the audience and said, "Let's see who carries the spirit of music tonight." What followed was one of the most electrifying jam sessions in history, never recorded, never televised. Prince played ferociously, tearing through riffs and screams. Michael answered not with a guitar, but with dance. Each move, each spin, was a statement. It wasn't about the instrument anymore, it was about the soul. By the end of the night, both men were exhausted. Prince nodded respectfully. Michael smiled and whispered, "The guitar belongs to both of us." Dizzy Chapter 6, Years later. When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, his collection of instruments was catalogued. Among them, the legendary Elvis Presley guitar, perfectly preserved. Some said Michael never played it. He simply kept it as a tribute, a bridge between the king of rock and the king of pop. When Prince died in 2016, an unsigned letter was found in one of his vaults. It read, "Greater than, to Michael. Some battles are never meant to be won, only remembered." Dove Chapter 7, The Legacy Lives On. In the end, it was never about the guitar. It was about what it represented. Two men who transcended music, who chased greatness not out of envy, but out of love for the art itself. The £2 million guitar remains locked away, unseen by the public. But the energy of that story, the fight, the respect, the rivalry, still echoes through every stage where music is played. Because legends like Michael Jackson, Prince, and Elvis, they never really die, they just change the rhythm of time. Music fades, slow heartbeat of a drum, ending credits roll. Headphone outro. Narrator. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Let's keep the legends of music alive, one story at a time. This is History for Sleep, and we'll see you in the next story. Bullseye hashtags. Hashtag Michael Jackson, hashtag Prince, hashtag Elvis Presley, hashtag Music Legends, hashtag History for Sleep, hashtag Untold Story, hashtag MJV's Prince, hashtag Rock and Pop, hashtag True Story, hashtag Music History. Key keywords and tags. Michael Jackson, Prince, Elvis Presley guitar, MJ vs Prince rivalry, music legends, untold music story, celebrity feud, Elvis Presley's guitar, King of Pop, King of Rock, Purple Rain, Thriller, Music History, MJ Collection, Rare Guitar, Rock History, History Documentary.